Oh, okay. Hold on. We're live? Yeah, we're live now.
Nice.
I see there's one person, 4 people. I think people are gonna start to come in now. Hey, what's up? Let's give a few minutes for people to come in and then we can start.
Yeah.
Yes, I have water.
Nice.
Lots of what's ups in the chat.
Nice. Hello, everyone.
Do we want to answer questions before, or should we save them all for when we start recording? I mean, when we actually start.
Oh, I guess we can start. We can wait for some people to get in. I think we do have a little bit of list of questions that you would like to go to, like pre-prepared kind of, and then we're just gonna open it up for everyone in the chat if they have any additional question. Today, all the topic is really about all things certification, as you can see in like somewhere like here, like or there, I don't know where it is currently on the screen, but it's all about cloud certification and in general tech certifications. So we do have a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. All right, let's intro it. So, hi everyone, welcome to episode number 2. Wait, 2. There we go. 2 of the Cloud Code Life podcast. We have the whole crew: Alf, Rishabh, myself. How's everyone feeling about after like the first episode? I feel like it got quite a bit of attention.
Yeah, I do feel like it was great to see a lot of people like reacting, being interested in like what was happening, and actually like following up and being interested. Also, the Code Life Twitter account got like 50 followers out of nowhere. So that's very neat.
Yeah, it was cool how we recorded like what was it, Tuesday, and then we got everything done Wednesday, and Thursday morning was out. It felt pretty seamless. There was a couple hiccups that we figured out, but it was everyone did a good amount of work, and it's gonna make it so much easier to just keep doing it, and like 'cause it's not on just one of us. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say something. Goodness. Anyway, we're doing this episode live. We typically, I mean, we weren't planning on doing all of these live, but maybe once. I think one of you mentioned doing once every other week.
Yeah, like I feel like there is a good use case for certain topics to actually have them live instead of being only like pre-recorded. There are some of things that is more a conversation, and interacting live is a little bit complicated, but other topics like, for example, decertifications, there's a lot of we can say, but I feel like it really helps for people that are thinking about certification to get like their answers like right away and get them quickly. So I feel like having this balance on certain topics being used live, some of topics not being live, I think is gonna be nice and useful.
And I think especially for the audience who are listening it afterwards, like the recorded version, they might have some questions that someone could ask in the live chat. So there's that too, like from the community aspect of it.
Yeah. So yeah, just make sure to add any questions that you have in the chat. If they're related, we'll try to fit them in. If they're like totally non-related but sort of cloud related, we'll try to answer them at the end. But yeah, let's dive right in. We've written some questions that we wanted to get through this topic. I guess the first one we can start out with is, which certifications do we have? Who wants to go first? Rishabh, because I think you have. I think you might have the most. Okay. All right, Antonio, you're up first.
Okay, so I currently hold 4 certifications. I hold 3 certifications from AWS, Cloud Practitioner, Solution Architect, Associate, and Developer Associate, and one from HashiCorp, and I'm Terraform certified. and I'm currently studying for the machine learning specialty at AWS.
Are they all? None of them are expired, so they're all.
No,
active
they're all
certificates.
fresh and they're all 1 year old, except for the HashiCorp that I got this past February, I believe, or March. So I still have 2 years before I have to recertify. But given that I'm taking a professional, I think automatically recertifies the ones that are associate level and also the cloud practitioner. So we'll see.
Okay, cool. I'll go next because I probably have the least. I have Linux Essentials that I took. So that's like LPIC, I think they call it. I took that March, February, somewhere around that. And then I have AZ900, which is the Azure Fundamentals. And then I have. Are we including expired certifications? Because that's
I
like.
would
Sure.
say
Yeah.
it's. I mean, we went through them, so might
Yeah,
as well.
true.
You passed
Okay.
it, right?
I am the AWS Certified Developer Associate that was the first cert that I took, and that's way expired. I don't have any plans on. I guess that's another question, but yeah, those are the 3 that I have. Rishabh, you're up.
Okay.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah, that's why I was having a sip of water. So I think started with cloud practitioner back in 2019, and then last year COVID hit. A lot of spare time. I'm huge into sports, so I didn't had any sport to play outside. So I started to dig more into certification world, and I got all 3 associates for AWS first, and then started with Microsoft Azure fundamentals, security fundamentals, data fundamentals, AI fundamentals, and then I got Azure Administrator, the AZ104. I'm also Terraform certified. I failed that one on the first attempt because I only gave myself like 2 weeks or something. But yeah, and then I have some other 2. Oh, Oracle, and there was another one. I can't remember. But yeah.
And
Too many.
You're studying for one at the moment too.
Yeah, I started with Antonio by his tweet about the DevOps Pro. So, being part of the Community Builders program, we were given a voucher to give a AWS exam for free per year. We thought it was valid for the entire year, like till December, and
It
but it
wasn't.
is, yeah, it was expiring on 1st of August. So I don't know. I'm probably gonna fail, but it's still an experience. I'm kind of preparing for it, not daily, but yeah.
Just gonna give it a shot.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Following up on that one, I think we can dive right into why did we pick the certs that we picked, and how long did it take us to study for them to pass? If you had to take them multiple times, then talk about that too. I'll start. Why did I picked the Linux one? Because at the beginning of this year, I was doing like a lot of Linux content for work, and it was something I wasn't too familiar with. And plus they paid for it, so I figured, hey, let me study for this, get comfortable with some commands and such. I think it took me like 2 months studying every day for that one. The AZ900, I didn't study at all for that one. I literally booked it like the same day. And I only took it because people were saying that it was pretty easy. And in my opinion, none of them are like easy, and unless you're like a professional. So I took it. No studying for that one. And I passed. I think I barely passed, but I passed. And then the hardest one for me was the Certified Developer Associate, the AWS one. Mainly because it was the first one, introduction to cloud, all that kind of thing. I think that one took me at least like 5 months, like studying every single day, a couple of hours. Why did I pick that one? Because I think I looked at like the outlines, and the services that were covered there were like the most interesting to me. I think specifically Lambda. And I thought I'd wanted to become a cloud developer, so that's why I picked that one. Oh, that's me.
Interesting.
You can go next. I started with the cloud practitioner because I meant to take it for a very, very long time. Because so at the time I was like studying, getting my finishing my master degree, and there is a lot of chat about AWS. At the point, I didn't even really know what AWS really was, like, or cloud in general, what like it really worked, like how it really worked. So I saw that like the cloud practitioner was like one cheap as a certification, like you can get it for like $100 or something, and and you can also and it was like a very introductory one, so that's really why I took it. I guess I really studied for it maybe a week. It took me really a week because I had the knowledge of like software related stuff before, but never really applied to the cloud. So it was more about learning about the services and AWS offerings and applying them to my pre-existing experience in like software related stuff. Then I kind of felt a rush of like passing that, so I was like, okay, the next step would be the solution architect, and at that point, Andrew Brown actually just released his like his free solution architect course on Free Code Camp. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna use that. I used also. And I was like, okay, that's a good next step because it's like a more general certification. I can study more services, more in depth, more and be at least knowledgeable about building stuff on AWS. So it took me, I think, 3 weeks to study that, and it was the 3 weeks after I took the cloud practitioner. And at the point, I was only studying for certification, so that's why it took me 3 weeks. It was like 3 weeks of like 8-9 hours per day, and another 3 weeks for the developer associate after that. So I took like in over the course of maybe a month, or 2 months, I took around the three AWS certifications. And for Terraform, it took a while. It actually took a while. I wanted it because I wanted just to validate, and I stopped being in the framework of in the like mindset of I need a certification to get a job, and I started being I want to take a certification as a validation of skills that I've like grew over the time I work. So I took the Terraform one because I wanted to validate the fact that I knew a little bit about Terraform. I knew enough about Terraform to get certified. It took me like maybe a week and a half to prepare for that, and then I passed it, and that's about it.
All right, Rishabh, you're up.
I'll go next. So yeah, like GPS said, I took the cloud practitioner as like a stepping stone into the cloud. Like that's how I got introduced to cloud. And someone at my company when I was in help desk told me to like, we use AWS. Why don't you like start preparing for cloud practitioner? It's a good introductory certification, and also you will know what AWS is and what public cloud basically is, which I had no idea at the point. And I think it took me around, could say almost 3 months just to like know what a cloud is, to like actually passing cloud practitioner. And yeah, I would say like it was really challenging, especially if you're starting out. And but yeah, I was glad I passed it. And then fortunately I got the role that I was applying for at the same company for cloud engineer. And after that, the last year is when like I wanted to take the solutions architect because it was like long due. The cloud practitioner, I took it in early 2019, so it was almost a year and a half that I haven't taken a certification. And like my colleagues and my team members in the same team, they all had like the solutions architect at least. So I went ahead, booked it, and then I think it took me 45 days to prepare for it. And yeah, there was a lot of tooling that we didn't use at the job, and that was like the learning curve for me. And then it took me around, I want to say, a month to prepare for sysops. So I went sysops first, then I went like the DevOps. Think so, but I don't remember. My entire timeline is kind of on my Twitter. And then I think I took only 2 weeks to prepare for the DevOps one because there is a lot of overlap between these certificates, especially at the associate level. So you could your timeline could look exponential. Like the first one takes you 40 days, the next one would take you 20 days, and the next one should take you like 10 to 15 days.
Yeah.
And that's the right way to do it, because now that I'm preparing for the DevOps Pro, I have taken the AWS certs a year ago. It's really hard to like go back and revise stuff. Like if you take it, make sure to take like one cloud provider, and if you're planning to take multiple, like plan them together. And then AZ900. I was not familiar with Microsoft Azure at all, so a lot of Microsoft Learn modules, a lot of just playing around the portal, trying to understand the different names of the services and how they like translate to AWS, because that's the way I understood it. And I think it took me almost 25 to 30 days for AZ900. But then, as I said, it was all, again, like there was a lot of overlap with other fundamentals. The only challenging one was the security fundamentals, because there was no
recent one, right?
Yeah, and I decided to take that in like when it was still in beta, because you had like a huge discount on it if you took it in beta, and there was no resources. So the only thing you could do is go through Microsoft's documentation or like Microsoft Learn modules. And then I know John Saville posted like a 2-hour exam cram like 2 days before the exam date. So I'm like, oh, awesome. So I went through that. And yeah, shout out to Andrew Brown. Like I used his free courses for entire like AWS stuff. Unfortunately, I used some of his courses for Azure, but now he has come out with a lot of more Azure content.
Yeah.
So go check out his channel. But yeah, that was kind of my plan. Like keep it exponential if you're picking one cloud provider.
That segues into the next question, which might be one of the most popular ones that I personally get, is resources we use to study, and do we actively have any subscriptions to learning resources? I get this all the time. Should I use Udemy? Should I use Cloud Academy? Should I use a Cloud Guru? Pluralsight. What else is around? CBT Nuggets.
Cloud Academy.
Cloud Academy.
LinkedIn
Learning. Okay, so I guess now's our time to sort of talk about resources that we've used, not necessarily recommending, but what we've used, and if in the past, and if there's anything that we currently use to sort of, I don't know, every now and then you pop in to watch something or something like that. Yeah, Alf, you want to give it a go?
Yeah. So in my experience, I used one that I really go back to a lot of the time is YouTube, because there is either free code camp or there are very specific things on services that either people have put out or AWS has out from like previous Friday office hours and things like that. There's like a lot of content on YouTube, but it's not like my primary source of resource. I would use mostly Udemy. I used a lot of Stefan Marek's courses, and those to me are the ones that work the best in terms of scope for the individual video. Like I know how to use my time effectively because I know the size of each video and I can return to them pretty quickly. And all of the certification I prepared, I used these courses except for the cloud practitioner one. I do have active subscriptions for a Cloud Guru, Pluralsight, and Cloud Academy. A Cloud Guru, I got it via I got it via the Cloud Resume Challenge from Forest, Brazil. And then I also got it via the ACG Insiders, which is another program I'm a part of. Then Pluralsight is the one I have via work, and Cloud Academy is the one that we have via the AWS Community Builders. So I use a mix of all of them. Those I use mostly for labs, I would say. So especially a Cloud Guru for labs is wonderful because there is already the environment ready for you for every lab. So there is like a sandbox environment for like AWS that you can start using. And to me, that's the best use of my time. I don't use as much the courses themselves, but I use a lot of the labs. Cloud Academy, I don't think I've used it enough to give a real like a review overall. And Pluralsight, I use it for things that are not specifically to certifications. Actually, like for example, I learned a lot of stuff like Go, TypeScript, and things that I needed for work. So I use them mostly for those.
Cool. Yeah, for me it's YouTube. It's the first one. And then I used A Cloud Guru for the first certification that I took and for all my like beginning cloud learnings, just because like our employer is like some kind of partner with them for learning and personal development stuff. So they pay for the subscription. So I've been using A Cloud Guru actively since then. It's almost been 3 years, and I would say their courses are like on point, but sometimes there could be like an outdated version, but they're pretty up to date. Yeah, other than that, YouTube. I've tried Pluralsight. I'm not a huge fan. Especially what I have tried. I only tried it for like AWS stuff last year, and most of it was outdated. So I'm not just gonna like spend my time on outdated stuff. But then someone at my company said, "Oh, they recently updated their courses." But yeah, so I try to stay away from Pluralsight. What else do I use? Udemy. As Antonio mentioned, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Stephen and his like courses. They're like really well put, and he's like a really good teacher, especially with all the AWS stuff. But yeah, that's what I've been using.
Okay. For the AWS certified developer, I used Linux Academy. So that's like not been a thing for years now. That was great because as an absolute beginner, I had like a learning path, had labs so like you had videos, then you had like quizzes, and then labs inside of the whole course that you'd have to go through. It was fantastic. I think my employer paid for that. Yeah, so I used that to pass. After that, I didn't study for the AZ 900, so I didn't really use anything for that. For the Linux, I didn't use any courses. I just kind of looked through like the outline and just books, like the what is it called, the Linux Basics for Hackers by No Starch Press. That one I used
right there.
Yeah, and then the
right
Linux
there.
command line. Those two books are like so good for it.
Right there.
They're so minor. Oh, mine are right here. Look, these are like staples to my, like right here. This one right here, Linux Basics for Hackers. So good. And then this one.
There we go.
So good. There we go. Look at that, Rishabh.
No, I have
Where are
something
yours?
else. I have something else.
Also, we are not sponsored by
Yeah.
No Starch Press, but if you want, then let us know.
It's way down the path.
DMs are open.
It's not reachable.
But yeah, these books, they're so good. Especially this one, this Linux Basic for Hackers. It's so fun to go through, and it's not like a lot of theory. It's like from the beginning, you start by doing exercises, and you really get to learn these commands in and out. So I use that for the Linux Essentials cert. I don't actively have any subscriptions to anything. It's pretty just like documentation. I think we're all at a part in our careers where we can just look things up in documentation. We don't necessarily need like full on courses unless we're picking up something from scratch, whatever that might be. Yeah. So for me, it's just like docs. A lot of Microsoft Learn too.
And that's a good point too. Like, I'm pretty sure Antonio is also not paying for any subscriptions by himself.
No.
Yeah. So like for A Cloud Guru, it's my employer, and then Cloud Academy, it's part of the AWS Community Builders thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any active paid, and I don't think I would if I didn't have them. Like I wouldn't actively pursue them. It's like
That's a
it's
good
not.
point. That's a good point.
That's-
Lots of even when I was doing help desk, so like my first tech role, or second tech role, they offered like we'll give you like $500 a year or something like that
Mhm.
towards whatever, and you could use it towards a subscription or a certification, something like that. So I would definitely say if people are looking to get these resources that are not free, see if your employer offers them, or see if somehow you can get it. If there's some program that you can get it through or something like that.
Yeah, that's correct.
So yeah, because when you think about it, they add up. Though I think if I was beginning and I didn't have access to Linux Academy, like I'm thinking back to when I got started, I think I still would have paid for it, even if it was just like a month or two.
I think that's what I do. I did that with Linux Academy. Like I took their 7-day trial, and that was enough for like one of the fundamental cert. And this is way back, even though I failed it, but
you just
at least
crammed like your 7-day trial, like you got.
But it was like 10
24/7
hours something. It was not huge.
Yeah, which is also why I enjoy using Udemy as much as I can use Udemy. It's because I mean Udemy as one thing I don't like about Udemy is their like business model, as in oh, there is this sale that is never gonna come back of like $12.99 courses, and every basically there are only 3 days when they are like a full price, and then they go back up being 12, so don't get fooled or similar. But definitely like the fact that I have to one by one choose the courses that I want to take actually makes me want to take them. Want to take them. If I have the pay everything. Something and choose, and you have everything, is a little bit more complicated for me to separate what is worth taking versus not worth taking. So yeah, and I think we discussed this a little bit about last time in the previous episode, but I feel it's very, very useful in the realm of certification specifically.
Yeah, the thing about like these platforms I love is, and that's what like Microsoft Learn is doing great, is providing sandboxes. Because as a beginner, like I would hate spending $1,000 on infrastructure that I left running in the cloud. Getting that bill, it's just a nightmare, because firstly it was hard to pick a subscription, right? Which, like, do you want to go with Linux Academy because you're paying $50 a month? And after that you get a huge bill. So in certain ways, I think these platforms are like doing good too. Like I think they're worth what money they're taking from our pockets, but at the same time, like we need to make it more accessible. Like Microsoft Learn, I think, does a great job at that.
Yeah, the hands-on aspect to the platforms when you're getting started, I think it's totally worth it. Totally worth it. As you keep going, it's like a lot of these things you can spin up on your own, and you can figure it out.
Which is where I would actually say that like a Cloud Guru and Linux Academy actually makes sense because they give you the sandbox environment, and a lot of people are scared of like trying things, like especially this is like very true for AWS. There is an ongoing thing where there is not like a playground environment on AWS, and you're scared of getting like very large charges, which is a very true scare, like fear. And so the fact that you have like these sandbox environments where you don't pay anything, like obviously you pay the whatever $50 to $450 a year thing, but you have access to like a free environment for AWS, and that really helps when you're learning. I wish AWS actually did more actively providing opportunities for people to learn hands-on, and not only provide the documentation. Documentation is great on AWS, but it's just not enough in terms of like getting the real experience as much as like Azure does.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. Here's also another popular one. Have certifications helped us land roles? Personally, probably. Yeah, I would say the AWS one, the one earlier on in my career. And it didn't necessarily help in terms of like I knew like this, because once I got that job, I didn't work in AWS at all. It was all Azure. It helped prove that I was going out of my way, like on my own time, to learn these things, and like, just having it on my resume. You know, and it helped me like strike up a conversation, like more of a casual conversation with the person who was interviewing me, in that aspect. And then, of course, studying for it helped me become more comfortable in the role, for sure. And this was a sysadmin role, not a cloud role specifically. So it's helped me that way, but nothing else after that.
Yeah, I shared like pretty much the same story. Is like I know someone from our cloud team was like, "Hey, why don't you try like getting into the cloud because it's more interesting, and like if you want to like pursue something greater like just the help desk and like grow in your career." And yeah, so I'm like, "How do I do that?" They were like just start out and maybe take the cloud practitioner. I'm like, "Okay." So doing that just showed them like I'm willing to go out of my like regular day-to-day responsibilities to grow in my career, and which just like proved the point itself when I was in the interview. So yeah, I think in a way it did help me land the role.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Cool.
I would say that it did not help me land the role itself. It's really like GPS. Like it showed that I had the initiative, and one it showed that if we were to talk about AWS, I would have known what we were talking about. So it definitely helped with probably impress the person I was interviewing with the fact that I could strike up a conversation and like keep up with this more complicated architecture on how the company is structured and how they're running all their workloads and similar, and actually making conversation about what they're doing, what they plan to do, not only with my team but also with like other teams like the DevOps team or like engineering team and similar. So, but by itself, it didn't matter much because it wasn't a requirement on the application, or it wasn't even something that they really struck. Like it wasn't a question that they really asked straight out of the gate related to the certification. It was more like, oh, I see that you're interested in the cloud. And in AWS, we run most of our workloads in AWS. So let's have a conversation about that.
Yeah, I think we all share the mindset, whereas we didn't get certified to sort of make our resumes better or land a role. We had the mindset of like, oh, I need to learn something. This is like sort of like a guided path with an outline that we can do this. I wanted to highlight this tweet that someone said the other day. People need to understand that any cert you achieve, it's dependent on how you make it work for your own career. For beginners, pick one to get the foundational knowledge, then branch out. No need for limitations or mindless comparisons. This is because I said the AWS or Azure discussion is pointless for beginners. But yeah, I think we all share that mindset where certifications, it's like what we make out of them is up to us. There's no guarantee out of anything really. And I think we see a lot of like people sort of gamify it now. It's like I have all these badges, I have all these certs. You know, LinkedIn is notorious for like I passed this thing, I passed this blah blah blah. And then I think the narrative of like cloud education and learning cloud computing is the same as certifications, whereas it couldn't be like far from that, right? But yeah, we all share that same mindset of we're doing this to learn, and it may or may not help, probably won't, but we're gonna learn.
It's just as I mentioned for my Terraform, it's more about validating the fact that I learned the Terraform by going through a specific path that the people that created Terraform laid down, and it's very similar for like all the other certifications. It's not like I know that like if I were to get a machine learning certification, it's not gonna land me a machine learning position. Like I am in a machine learning position, but I'm not gonna land another position based on that certification. It's just that like it's gonna make me, if anything, more confident in the fact that I know how to orchestrate workloads for machine learning on AWS, but it's not gonna land me the job on its own.
Here's a good segue question here. Look at this. So, which certifications did we find most useful, and which ones the least? I think Yeah, you two will probably have more insight into this. For me, the least one was probably the AZ900 because I didn't learn really anything new on that. And then the most useful was probably the Linux one, the one that I learned the most out of. That's me. But you guys have like probably more to share about this one.
So I think that my most useful one was the developer associate, because that was an incredible, like that was a very complex one, and it really took me a lot. Like I was afraid of failing it on the very last day, and then I passed it. And I guess that there is so much content into the certification that it really opened my eyes on like a lot of services that I didn't know in depth, but I just knew from the standpoint of how do they fit in a larger architecture, because I came out of the solution architect certification. I guess the one I don't have like a lot of certification. I'm only 4, so I would say that the one that I really didn't it wasn't useful, but it was just a personal thing, was the Terraform one, because I didn't really learn anything extra. It's a very like, if you know Terraform, it's a simple certification. It literally took me 20 minutes to take the entire exam, and it's like
Wow.
65 question or something.
Open book?
No,
No.
it used to be open book, and then they changed it actually.
Yeah.
So, but it really took me like 25 minutes to take the certification, like the exam. And I didn't really learn anything new because I was using it for a long, like I've been using it enough that at the point I knew what the content was, and it was purely out of like validation of my own skills. So it wasn't useful. It was just like that. It's there. There's a possibility of taking it. Why not?
Sure.
Okay.
For me, it was the most useful, I would say, was the sysops, just based on what I did do in my role. And it did help, especially our team, because like one of my team members also took it, and we implemented a lot of new stuff. I know during that, and a lot of architectural changes, just because we were not aware of things before taking the certification. And I think the least one, I would say, the the AI fundamentals.
Okay.
Just because I think it's like, yeah, it's just not for me, I would say. Like, not where I'm focused. I just took it for the sake, because I had a voucher sitting for a fundamental cert which was expiring. So like, sure, why not? But yeah.
Okay.
And I think I would add to like Antonio's point, if you know a tool, like if you're really proficient in AWS at a like pro level, I don't think certification would be like useful to you.
At a pro level, yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
The only situation where a certification is useful as a pro level is like the only useful situation I can think of is AWS that has the partner network, where to actually be a partner as a company, you have to have a number of people that are certified at each of the levels. So that's the only real like benefit that you get a certification for. But if you're not an AWS partner, like there is no need to validate the like, again, it's all personal validation. If you feel like passing a certification will make you more confident in your own skills, go for it. It's useful and great. It's not gonna make your position unless there are positions where they require the certification, but I don't really find a lot of them. And if I find a lot of them, they usually don't know what they're looking for, and they're just using a certification as like a crutch.
Like filter,
Yeah, so usually the position where they know what they are looking for, you'll never see either degrees or you'll never see certifications. Like go look at like any SRE position on Netflix, you'll never look for like a certification in CSOPs or something.
Like even with if you're talking about the cloud providers by themselves, like AWS, Google, or Microsoft, if you check their job posting, they never say like you need to be certified in this.
That's true. I've never seen a
Yeah.
role from like Fang that have
Yeah.
certifications say like, yeah, you
And
need.
to Antonio's point, it's always like companies that are not sure what they're looking for, and they want someone to have the title of cloud engineer, DevOps engineer, and then want to filter applicants.
I feel like I've seen them on the, what do they call, MSPs? The like that ones that
Yeah.
outsource like IT, like Microsoft IT.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the thing:
The
if you need to be a partner, as Antonio said, and it's only not true for like AWS,
Mhm.
it's the case with Terraform and like Microsoft. I don't know about Google, but you need to have certain number of people certified in their cloud.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
We got some hot takes now. What do we love about certifications?
I just love the process.
So the studying.
Yeah, I think so. The reason why I took so many certifications is because it gives you like, I don't know, for me, it gives me like a deadline and a
Mhm.
thing to do by this time. And that is why I would like take out an hour or 2 hours daily to study. If I'm not like, if I don't have a deadline or something that's like on a time sensitive exam, anything, I would just not sit on my desk and study. And
Okay,
that's
so
just me.
it holds you accountable.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see that. I like along the lines. I like that it's, sort of an organized, but you're not guessing. You're like, oh, I can just take this. I know what I need to study for. And yeah, you get the badge and you can share that. You get the little paper. Some people frame their certs, things like that. But yeah, that's great. I think especially getting started, I definitely appreciated having, yeah, again, that accountability, and a lot of times like the resources that you'll use will sort of measure your progress. It's like you're 10% done with this course. You do that kind of, and that helps a lot too when you're getting started. I think I like, yeah, that aspect of certifications. I do enjoy. I do like that the shift that certifications seem to be taking now, where it's a little bit more like they're harder. I think they're harder now. Like there's always going to be like, question dumps, exam dumps, and things like that. But it feels like they're harder now,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Yeah, and it's a nice community around them too. I think that's great. Yeah, there's a couple things I can name. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Alf.
Oh, I would just echo what Rishabh said. Honestly, it's just all about the setting up expectation for yourself and being able to follow a specific path because you know what's gonna be in the exam and what's not gonna be an exam, so you can focus on things. And that's really just a big plus for when you don't have like the self drive. Like I don't have the self drive of just studying for the sake of studying unless something is so mind-bogglingly interesting that I just like binge learn a lot of things. But otherwise, the fact that I sign up, and especially if I pay for the exam, there is that like component of self-drive that I want to pass because I want to make the investment worth.
Do you guys you guys book it before you start studying? So you have it. I never do that.
I've tried both, to be honest. So like my first 6, I booked it after I felt like I can take the exam, but I would book it like in 2 days, 1 day or 3 days. Whereas after that, I know, like, I think Antonio tweeted that, and then Andrew also said like you need to book it beforehand because you have a given set of time and you have a goal to meet, right? And I tried it. I think it works. Like if you're under like a time bomb,
Yeah.
if you're trying to achieve it like in 30 days or 15 days, it definitely helps you to get like more certifications in a given time. But from the learning side of things, I would like have that flexibility of just exploring the service itself, and then when I feel like okay, I can take the exam now. Yeah,
that's another point where you can study for a certification and not take it. Go through the content, learn it, whatever it is, study, but just not sit for it because they're expensive. They're like what are they, like 150? at
Yeah.
least
Yeah,
USD.
it
300.
depends on
Yeah, it depends
yeah.
on the level
The
of
level,
the
yeah.
certificate. And that's the other thing I really like about, like, I don't know if it was COVID or what, but Microsoft giving out like so many free vouchers for their
Yes.
certification, and that is why I was able to take so many of them. And similar thing with the community builders is I think they said like you could take one exam per year, and what AWS does is if you pass the exam, you get 50% off for the next one, and that's for everyone. This is not related to like the community builder stuff, but yeah, like the certifications themselves are like expensive. I, I think they're priced okay, like it's a fair price, but they're still expensive for someone who is like looking to get into cloud.
Yeah.
But they're not as crazy as like CompTIA certifications.
Oh yeah. Those are absolutely mind-boggling, even because those are the ones that are probably those are the only ones that are more required in certain positions
Yeah.
because they're more technical, like they're more hands-on and such than other certifications.
Which ones?
Like CompTIA Network Plus, for example,
Plus and...
or A Plus, like a lot of like help, not help desk, but like tech support.
There are a few help
like
desks. Yeah.
That require A plus.
Yeah.
some of them, I've seen a few positions, or I've seen a few people like on LinkedIn and such that actually were studying for their like CompTIA like A plus for entry level positions, because those are like how to re-put together like a computer or something. Like you have
Yeah.
things like how do computer works and how can you put it together and such. So for entry level positions in like tech labs or something, I've seen that they
even
do
like
require
ISPs and stuff. They do require, like here in Canada, if you want to work for ISP or anything, you need to have like a plus, and then similarly for like a data center kind of situation too, whether it be like a starting role. But yeah.
I would say cloud ones are not required. Like they're not, but these there are some of those that are more professionalizing certifications. Like they actually can be a requirements, but I don't even think those are certifications really. I think more those are like professional licenses than certification themselves.
Yeah, and I think like, to go back to the point that Antonio said, if something is like really, really interesting, like I feel like none of us care about certifications at that point. Like we just dive in and like explore the service itself and then not take the exam.
Yeah.
Just because like it's just in the end it's just like credibility on your resume.
That leads into my next question. Do we plan on taking, I know you two mentioned this, like you're studying for one now, but do we plan on taking any in the near future or like by the end of the year?
Yeah, and that is just because, as I said, we have some, I have some
Vouchers.
especially vouchers is the next one that I'm taking, and then similarly I have the voucher for AZ400 that I already booked. So
Jeez. Yeah.
and it's like I don't think it's fair to like let the voucher expire because it's a $300 exam. I think even the AZ400. I could be wrong, but yeah. After that, I'm totally like, okay, I'm done. I would only take it if like something is expiring, and that's why I love what Microsoft is doing for recertification. Is you
it's
just
free.
have, yeah, it's free. But yeah, like Antonio said, for AWS, it's the other way. You take a pro level cert or a specialty in your. I don't think it's true for a specialty, is it? Would it extend the?
I am pretty sure they would.
Okay.
I'm not. I can't. Like I don't put. I wouldn't put like my hands on fire for that. But like I wouldn't like.
Yeah. But yeah, AWS does this thing. If you take an exam higher than the before level you have taken, and if those have expired, they will renew it. So yeah, only for those purposes, I think I'll take it. But then, I think I'm good.
All right. Last question I got on this topic is, What do we not love about certification? I think we probably all have the same.
LinkedIn.
Well, do you think that's gonna happen on Polywork now? Everyone's just gonna update their Polywork often.
I guess.
Yeah, like I could see people posting it. I think how Polywork is, like, it has a timeline basically of your wins and whatever you want to put in there. And I guess people have the freedom, like still have the freedom to post these as on their timeline. But yeah, I like the fact that, like, you don't have likes and stuff.
I don't like exams about certification. I hate the exam itself.
Yeah.
Like I don't think like I don't know, like it just like for someone who's like anxious overall, like that has a degree of like anxiety on things, like the exam itself is like a very bad experience no matter how prepared you are. It's
Yeah.
good after the exam, but like the exam itself is terrible.
What about the exam? Like the format?
The one
being
is the
watched?
format. No, it's the format. It's just like the idea of taking the exam. Really, it's like one type of exam that I prefer more is what Cloud Native Foundation does for like their Kubernetes one, or like what Google does for their TensorFlow certification. It's like you have a project. Here is a project. You have like an hour or a couple of hours to do as much as you can of this, and it's less of a game of how much do you remember, because you have access to docs and stuff like that, and instead you actually have skills that I worked with effectively. So I don't love the fact that it's like most of the exams are like quizzes, and I would prefer more hands-on type of exams where you actually do some degree of coding if it involves coding, or you do literally like, here is a sandbox, can you set up like a pipeline or something.
Yeah, I think I hate is the time. Like, I don't know why these things are 3 hours long. Especially to like Antonio's point, if the exam is interactive, I don't care. It could be like 3 hours long, because you're like deep into it, right? You're fixing and I think the cloud native stuff is like, especially the Kubernetes one, is you have to type a bunch of commands to figure out, like, to do stuff and implement things in your cluster. Whereas with most of the cloud certs, it's knowing the service and like knowing the names and stuff, which like it's boring after like you have spent 30 days like just going through them, and then you are sitting there and just answering the questions about those. So I just don't, I hate the time, like the time management part of it.
I would say I would agree that the format of the exam should be different. Like I would like to see them more. Like you see them a lot with like the Red Hat. I think some of the LPIC, and then the Linux Foundation certs, they're all lab based. Like you have like, you get an environment, you have to do these exercises, that kind of thing. I think those would make that would switch, like just make it so much more valuable if the actual certification was not just multiple choice or like a study case kind of thing. I guess that's the only thing I dislike. I also dislike the culture around like the collecting, I pass a cert every month kind of thing. Like I think that encourages a certain behavior that isn't productive. I mean, if you do it to learn and such like that, that's great. But I think we also neglect like actually building things in exchange for like, oh, I need all my time to study for certifications. So yeah. I think that's all the questions we got. We can dive into the content of the week. Now we all have something we want to highlight this week. Richard, you want to go first?
Sure. So Carolyn, I'm not sure if she's in the chat today, but she's doing a live stream of learning PowerShell, and she also has a GitHub repo. I was there on the first live stream for like about 20 minutes. And
I missed it. I'm so
it was really interesting, especially like I've used PowerShell, but I'm no expert in it. Only used it whenever it's needed. But but yeah, it's really interesting if you're looking to learn PowerShell like from the basics and advancing. So yeah, do check her YouTube channel. I'm not sure when the next stream is scheduled, but yeah, do check her channel.
The repo itself is quite detailed.
Yeah,
Like
it is.
if you were able to take a look at, let me see if I can share my screen. Hold on, give me share screen. Share this. All right, so we'll go into this one. Yeah, we have like she has like so many things in here.
Mm-hmm.
If we go into like the actual, that's the code that she uses to teach the lesson and the actual lesson here.
And it's organized in an incredibly good way
It's
as well.
so good. I didn't have no idea. She must have taken like a lot of time to work on this. Like I had no idea she was working on this. And we talk quite often. So yeah, this is like fantastic. If you're looking to get into PowerShell, which is a fantastic, I guess, tool to learn, especially in like the Azure world, but it's cross-platform now. Yeah, this is a fantastic resource. We'll have that in the show notes.
Which browser is that, by the way?
This is Safari.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let me switch back to this view here. I can follow up with mine here. So, oh, hold on, I don't have it open. Alf, you want to go for it? I don't have my link open.
You're muted, Alf.
Nope, you're still muted. There.
Nader? Okay, there we go. Okay. So Nader Dabit, which was a former AWS developer advocate for AWS Amplify, and now is working on Edge and Node as a developer advocate. And he just released another wonderful video on creating a full stack app using Next.js and Supabase. And all of Nader's tutorials are like incredibly high value, and so this is yet another of his incredibly well organized tutorial. It's a 30-minute tutorial, and there's also a companion blog post on dev, so you can actually find them in the show notes for this episode when this is actually released. So I really suggest you to take a look at it.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah, there's the repo is also available.
Yeah,
this
also
guy
available.
is a machine. Like I don't know how he keeps up with like all the stuff that he does. It's like these really long tutorials often too.
Yeah, he releases a ton of tutorials and on a very, very, very consistent basis. So yeah, really, you give him a subscription, subscribe on his channel because it really has a ton of interesting content. Especially now, if you're interested in blockchain, that's his jam now. So
The way he tweets and he talks about it, it makes me want to like, oh man, I should just like look into it. Just get into that.
Yeah, it kind of makes you feel the FOMO, even if I have no real interest in blockchain. But the way that he puts it is like, oh man, I kind of should get on it.
Yeah. All right, my turn. So there's this JavaScript beginning introduction to JavaScript, but it's in Portuguese. It's built by my friend Glaucia, who's a developer advocate at Microsoft. She's based in Brazil. So it's let's see how many videos are in here. I know she dropped this today. So there's 48 videos, all Portuguese, a JavaScript introduction. I think I personally am a big fan of these resources being available because like a lot of tech content is English based, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we forget that there's just like so many more people out there. So having these resources that are built, from the ground up, so in different languages and such are fantastic. I personally don't know JavaScript, but I think this is a fantastic resource. So we'll make sure to link that in the chat show notes as well. I think we covered it all. We want to answer some questions. If you have any questions, we'll spend maybe like 5 minutes answering. Drop them in the chat. Antonio, were you super excited about that?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as it was cool, but like I actually missed it. I was sleeping at that time. I took an afternoon nap. I completely forgot there was a final going on, so I
Jeremy
just
asked the
slept
wrong
through it.
person.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I'm not as much of a sports person. Like
Yeah.
I am, but not as majorly.
I was like hooked.
Yeah,
I was
it's a
right
good
sitting.
game.
Yeah, it was a good game. No, I wasn't supporting like any particular teams. I was just there for like entertainment, and the game itself was like so entertaining, and it was good sport.
Yeah, it was. It's like a lot of soccer going on now. I'm a big
Mhm.
fan of the sport, so it's nice to just appreciate good games because I don't have any teams
Yeah.
I'm rooting for anyway. Yeah, I think we had a couple other ones, but kind of way back there. Has anyone used Egghead?
I
Egghead.io?
used it before. I think it was for HTML, CSS, JS stuff. I think, yeah, I can't remember the name. Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thomas
He is pretty good.
Lacombe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna butcher his name, unfortunately, but like Lacombe. I'm sorry. I
checked
think he also said
Discord.
one time. Yeah, no, I feel like on Egghead, the thing about Egghead is that they have nailed their way of building videos. So all the videos are like super short and super to the point in one
Yeah.
very specific thing.
Specific, yeah.
And there are a lot of very, very interesting ones as well, because there's from like big people, like for example there is a course on Redux by Dan Abramov, which is on the React core team, and he's the guy that built Redux as well. So and it's entirely free, because Egghead has like a free tier and a paid tier, and a lot of people do release them entirely open, their entire courses. So there is like a lot of like high value courses as well, and you don't need to pay for you don't really need to pay for the premium one, because there is a lot of very good value even in the free tier. Then potentially you can move to the next step.
Yeah, I think I found some like AWS stuff too. I think it was from Thomas too. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I've seen him
Like
share a couple
web
of his
app
videos.
stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah, the free tier itself is pretty good. Like it was quality free tier content.
Yeah. All right, I think we could wrap up. Any do we have any shout outs? Anything? I guess shout out to everyone who shared and followed us and stuff and subscribed to the YouTube. That was cool. So it's fun to do these. I like to do these live. I like this aspect of it.
Yeah, and thank you so much for following on Twitter and such. I really appreciate the fact that you're taking the time to listen to our ramblings and
Yeah, that's exactly what it ramblings.
ramblings in general. I really appreciate your time taking. Like your time being here. Also to the people that followed live today, thanks. And we like when if you have any random last minute question that you may wanna sneak in, feel free. But otherwise, we're gonna be here again next week.
You know what we should build? We should build some sort of polling mechanism that we can have like people submit topic ideas and then be able to vote, and then each week we'll just grab the top one there. That would be cool. Nice little
That would
project
be
we could
nice.
build, probably I don't know, Lambda or functions.
On
Super simple function. Put it in one of those domains that we got. I think we have like 3 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be cool.
Yeah.
Could build it live.
How many projects are like? Let's keep the count.
Oh my
Like,
goodness.
I think 5 at least for like Cloud Code Live. I can name all 5 of them like on my fingertips.
We need to stop at it. Maybe that'll be just a functionality in one of the projects that we already want to build, like just a little thing. Yeah. All right, let's end it.
Awesome.
Good.
All right.
See everyone.
Thank you so much again. I guess my signature
Peace.
Peace.